Great. Well,
All right.
it is now recording as far as I know. So is your colleague or fellow student going to join us, James?
James, I don't think he was able to make it. I didn't see his confirmation. So I think it's probably just going to be you and me.
Okay.
Um, and you are actually a little bit unique to the other ones we were doing. So I saw your bio and it looks like amazing. So I really wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit and
Sure.
let you know more about what we're doing and just really get your perspective on, the project and any recommendations you have for us. So,
Great. And
as
let me
we,
just say, DEQ is a big place. I'm in a unique role there because of what I do. But if there's some things that I can, if I don't have the answers or, we need to reach out to other people, I'm willing to get that, started in case, because I probably would not have all your answers, but I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Awesome, thank you. So, so what we're doing is we are in the Masters of Public Administration program at
Hmm.
UNC Charlotte,
Hmm.
and a part of our capstone project. So all of us are within our second year of the program, and we have been tasked by the town of Davidson to help them define sustainability and come up with some recommendations that they could implement to really just get started in this whole sustainability efforts thing and what we've learned, because right now we're at basically the middle of the semester. So we've done some research, we've spoken to some similar cities and towns,
Right.
done some benchmarking, and we're learning that sustainability is quite a vast topic, very vast. So none of us necessarily come from a sustainability background, but there are these main themes that we've decided to break sustainability down into for Davidson. So we have nature conservancy and just like land conservation. We have energy and waste, and then we also have built environment. So one of the aspects that Davidson asked us for is like an element of wanting to know what's possible in North Carolina. So I wanted to start by just asking you about your current role and what you do with the Department of Environmental Quality.
Great. Yeah. So I'm in a non-regulatory division, one of the only non-regulatory division within NC Department of Environmental Quality, NCDEQ, and it's the Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service. And so this is really an evolution of a pollution prevention program over the years that has tried to look at smarter practices for people to improve environmental performance while also being business wise at the same time. So, we kind of feel like environment and economy are not in conflict. So, um, part of that, I manage a unique team to carry out the state's pollution prevention mission. I manage this group called Waste Reduction Partners. It's actually embedded at a local governmental body called Land to Sky Regional Council. These are one of 13 regional councils across North Carolina, but we are actually a local government in legal jurisdiction, and we serve.
Okay.
In this case, we serve a 4 county area, but the WRP program originated here many years ago, back in the 90s, and and I'm kind of on loan from DEQ to manage this program. And it's a retired engineer-based program, so we essentially are using volunteer and retired engineers, scientists, architects, and other business professionals to share their expertise back out in North Carolina, essentially doing
Mm-hmm.
sustainability consulting. So we do work across all sectors except for residential. So we work with local governments. We work with state agencies. We also work with businesses and manufacturers and nonprofits, schools, really the whole gamut. And we're kind of a little bit more nuts and bolts on this waste and energy area. We do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of energy efficiency assessments. So we're helping people become more efficient with energy use. We help people with
Mhm.
like zero waste strategies and recycling, kind of reducing their waste impacts, and other resource conservations like water efficiency is a really big thing we do as well here. And we consult with other businesses or local governments, like how they in their own operations, how can they um, conserve these resources or, cut energy use and then reap the benefits from those. But while we're doing that, we're working with a lot of towns and municipalities that have their own programs that they're trying to implement. And we
Mhm.
are using our team to help them. So, as an example, the city of Asheville, as far as energy and the environment, is one of the leading municipalities that has very progressive goals towards becoming kind of carbon neutral, having a clean
Mhm.
energy by 2030, looking at like 100% renewable strategies. And so, like, for instance, as an example, we were just helping them do an evaluation for a building um, that they knew they had to replace a boiler or some um, equipment there that uses natural gas or fossil fuels. And they were saying, well, we really want to go to all electric because we know one
Mhm.
day will be 100% solar or 100% renewable energy. And electric is the way to deliver that. So we did an evaluation for them of some considerations on how do they do that, like when they need to make the next you know, boiler change out in a community center. And what we found is that if they can't just buy an electric boiler, it's completely the wrong decision. But they can do other things like replace the entire heating system with an industrial heat pump
Mm.
or geothermal heat pump, and then reap multiple. They can go electric, but reap multiple benefits of emission reductions, um, and have the least cost penalty to do that. Many of
Mhm.
these things that we're trying to strive for are more expensive than the standard. So, um, but if they just bought just an electric boiler, replaced just the one thing that they were looking at, it was like a four-time cost increase during the year and way more emissions. So it really made no sense to
Mhm.
do it that way, but there was other ways they could do it. So like our team is kind of a technical team helping people think through how they can implement those goals. So
Gotcha.
we do a lot in waste reduction as well. In our division, our division is also the state's recycling division. So our division gives grants out to local governments and helps them promote recycling and reuse and recycling campaigns and solid waste, improve solid waste management, composting, and those things. So we can talk about any of that if you want. Um, and and then we also promote other municipalities that actually supply water as part of their within their jurisdiction, like they own the water production facility and distribution facilities, so we help them
Mhm.
with efficiency strategies, which I think is definitely core to sustainable practices. Everybody in North Carolina is in a different place with that about how much water they have and what their planning
Right.
looks like out in the future. So those are some of the things we do. It's in partnership with DEQ. I am a DEQ employee, so I work with all of our regulatory teams and our energy division, and our so I've I've got a good feel for that, but I also kind of manage a more field team actually doing work in these specific areas.
Okay. So, no, one, everything you said is amazing. That's phenomenal. You sound like just the right person to speak to. So, two standout areas that have come up for us in our research and just, doing the project so far are pollution and recycling.
Mhm.
So, in regards to recycling, um, when you say that you guys help like other municipalities, gain grants for recycling, can you speak a little bit more about, do you know if there's a strong initiative out right now in the state about electrical recycling, specifically like when people have phones and tablets and TVs that maybe no longer work or they've, replaced it with something else? Is there like a predominant recycling program, or just kind of what you know about that?
Right. Yeah. So that's like the general term is electronics recycling. And um, there are a lot of electronics recyclers out there. Our division keeps track of who does that, but a lot of municipalities will, um, they have a special electronics collection sites at their facilities. Now, the town of Davidson, I'm not sure if they're operating like residential pickup or if it's for trash in general. But at the county level or certain levels, people may have their own drop-off stations or convenience centers, say at the county level, where people are dropping off trash, and then they can bring their recycling, as well as a designated area for electronics as well. So that is definitely something that could be offered if it's not being offered by the town of Davidson now. Um, there may be, some grant or support opportunities to help launch that kind of a program through our division of environmental assistance and customer service.
Awesome. We don't think Davidson currently has that, but in a lot of the research that we've been doing, it's one of the potential recommendations we're going to make in our final project,
Right.
because Davidson highlighted the fact that land conservation and just natural resources is a huge area of concern for them in terms of sustainability, just because, in the one sense, with land consumption, you cannot reverse it. So once you've used land for something, you can't go back and undo it. And
Right.
they take a lot of pride in just really the nature and the greenways, the parks, just the overall beauty of the town. So
Sure.
our research had highlighted that as one thing that electronics in landfills and in everyday trash can also be connected to, and this is another area you had mentioned before, pollution. So yesterday excuse me, we met as a class, and one of my classmates brought about a point, and I just want to ask you about it, see if you have just heard anything about it or if it's anything on your radar. She found in a few research papers she was looking at that there's potentially a trend of increased chemical pollution in higher income areas. So Davidson is a population of about 13,000 with a median household income of about 105,000. So we consider them overall a higher income area. I just wanted to see, have you ever heard of connections being made between those two things, chemical pollution and higher income?
Well, it seems like that may be more related to things like lawn maintenance chemicals and runoff and more stormwater related issues potentially, because I think in
Mhm.
higher income areas, you could, assume that there might be more of a diligence towards lawn care and some of those things. So there are municipal stormwater rules and regulations that are out through the state, which is forcing some of the municipalities to get a better grip about stormwater runoff and pollution. As far as like household generation, that's not kind of my area of specialty, but you know, you would think, the residential solid waste management of all these other, you know, hazardous or more challenging waste streams to manage is always going to be an issue, like more electronics or, making sure that other residential waste streams like, antifreeze or used oil and everything is actually being managed properly and not ending up in the trash or being mismanaged. So I think that, a lot of communities are doing a good job there. There might be, I think that, my take on that is a little bit more of an issue. Is that a business or industrial issue? I don't really know,
Mhm.
whether that was more the focus on higher income and more chemical. It depends, where those, what form those chemicals were being talked about. Was that a stormwater? Was that a air quality issue? Or was that a mismanagement of a waste issue? Those kinds of things. Um, so,
Um, and then just to bring you into some of the questions that we've been asking, with our other interviewees. So, and please answer from the lens of, the work you do with your current program, but
Sure.
like, what are some of the challenges in defining sustainability that you've seen?
Well, it's such a massively broad topic um, that I think that communities really need to pick specific programs that match their needs so they can wrap their hands around it because local governments, they work by engaging community members. They might form an energy um, a clean energy task force or an advisory board
Mm.
that is advising the town on how to go to electric vehicles or become more renewable or invest in solar. So if that's the match for that community, I think that, defining out some specific initiatives that people can get their hands around is a great thing. I mean, these communities can look at a more comprehensive plan, but sometimes um, there's so many things that can be touched in sustainability. Even if they had a sustainability manager, I think that some of the sustainability managers in larger municipalities can get overwhelmed because they could get called into, you know, zoning issues or a park development issue or a waste management or an energy management or, building codes for new buildings and efficiency. So, I mean, they could get pulled in so many directions. So I think that that's a challenge is to identify, what does this community have jurisdiction over? And then define some projects that, there is general consensus that people want to move forward on, and choose rational goals to move forward. And there's lots of communities that you can look to for examples. You could look to the town of Chapel Hill or city of Durham, Asheville. A lot of these entities have sustainability coordinators, and they're a little bit further down the road because they've been thinking about this for a while.
Oh, yes. We actually spoke with the Chapel Hill Sustainability Coordinator.
That's great.
So, yeah, no, that's awesome you bring that up. And then, do you tend to see formalized sustainability plans in some of the communities or municipalities that you've worked with and seen?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now, it gets more challenging as you move down in population. So town of Davidson, will be if they put together their own plan, they may be, in the higher percentiles of a small population having a plan. But I think if you look at like larger municipalities, many of them have plans and they map out these specific kinds of initiatives. So like you can probably see that with Durham and definitely with Asheville, they've got very specific goals on renewables. They're very progressive. But like, all these entities, the larger municipalities have some. So, um, you know, it doesn't have to be the Cadillac of plans. I mean, it can be, like it's like there needs to be a start and then identify areas where you can have influence. Like for instance, if the town says, well, we'd really like to make some steps forward with clean energy, um, the town of Davidson is not its electric provider. They're not their own utility, but they can work with Duke, and I'm assuming they're like in the Duke energy territory, and they may be able to do some solar projects. They may be able to look at their fleet management and say, how do we move our fleet towards electric? All these communities can reflect off state plans. Like right now, we have a clean energy plan at the state level. There's goals for electric vehicle increases. There's goals for, renewables. So they can look towards those state broader plans and say, hey, we can play a role in that. Um, we can join the mayor's climate initiative on the Paris Accord if we want to do that. Like there's, you can look at the state or even some other broader initiatives that individual municipalities can follow. So I think there's a lot of opportunities on how to do that.
Awesome, thank you. Another area that we ask like other towns was kind of what's like the, the motivation or inspiration for plans. And so we asked, to what extent are a lot of these sustainability efforts and plans motivated by the city staff versus the community, like the community saying, these are things we want to see more of. Just in your experience, what kind of efforts and initiatives have you seen from both of those sides, that you've seen city staff kind of hold more important as well as like the community kind of hold more important?
Right. Well, I think, in every municipalities, I think that the community members are driving a lot of these kinds of policies decisions. Um, all towns have to meet certain basic rules and laws around, say, just environmental regulations and performance in general, but that's kind of our baseline, right? So I think we're seeing, like I live in Asheville. So in Asheville, there's a very active community that is trying to promote clean energy, and that's being
Mhm.
pushed at the community level. That's being pushed by other nonprofits. And so there's a lot of entities trying to push the city to do that. So, that pushing creates the city to say, well, let's put more emphasis on that. And their elected officials put more emphasis on it. And then they hire a sustainability coordinator. Then they hire an energy manager, and so they start to invest in positions that are then going to, advance those sustainability goals, help the city be more efficient. Hopefully those things may save the city some money as well, depending on how they're rolled out. So, there's kind of a dual benefit of sustainability and efficiency and potentially cost savings for some of those things, or the investment for the long term for cost efficiency. So, um, I kind of see it as both. I mean, obviously, you can have very empowered employees that, want to move things forward, and, they may push some of these things from the ground up or internally. But in the end, your boards, your council people, really are going to have to, be completely behind it if it's not even their idea, and support it. So it really can go both ways. But I think in general, um, you know, town and city staffs are usually very thin and are pulled in a lot of different ways. So it does, that the top down feeding from the community need drives a lot of these
Mhm.
projects to launch.
Gotcha. And then another question, which uh, we've gotten a mixture of answers on, is so we've been asking other towns and cities, like, how do they fund their sustainability efforts?
Hmm.
And then so far we've gotten a mixture of answers, some saying their general fund, some saying we talked to an organization called the National League of Cities, and she had mentioned in what she does, she has seen cities and towns kind of use bonds and other forms of funding. Do you have you seen various forms of funding in these sustainability efforts? What are methods that about, or kind of just are on your radar?
Right. So I think some, initially, to fund positions or portions of positions, you know, towns are going to their general fund for that. Or being innovative and bringing on interns under the direction of a public works person, or facilities crews or something else, or trying to be innovative to get staffing. Once there's some staffing and some focus, there are projects that actually are cost saving oriented projects. And one of those is the low hanging fruit, is like energy efficiency within the town's own energy consumption. So the town is paying Duke or the utility, um, for their electricity. So if they can implement some energy saving projects, there's a savings there. And some municipalities, say like the city of Asheville, have created like a green fund. And so what they've said is, if we invest in some cost saving projects that are, advancing our environmental performance, we can take the savings from those projects and put it into a special fund so we can reinvest it. So that if they save, $10,000 in energy costs this year, they can reinvest that money in other projects in following years. So I think that's an innovative way to do it. Um, you know, uh, it's challenging. I think once you have some staff on that, you can look at other grants and other abilities to do that, or incentive-based programs, because it may be that Duke has some, Duke has, you know, they have literally like over 20 incentive-based programs around energy management, some in renewables, some in efficiency. And if you can take advantage of those, you may be able to say, well, we were going to upgrade this building anyway. Now we can add on these incentives. We can use Duke programs, and we can get, a much more efficient building. We can be saving money in the long run with, fewer investment. So, once you have some brain power on that, and they can even call in our group to help them look at that if they'd like Waste Reduction Partners. We're a free assistance supported from the state to help people look at that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a creative way to create a kind of a green fund, to keep projects going in the reinvestment.
Awesome. Terry, those were really all of my main questions. I know we're getting close to the end time,
Okay.
but I definitely wanted to thank you again for taking the time out and just ask, did you have any questions for us or just any advice to us in this project that we're doing for Davidson?
Yeah, I guess I would say, looking at your three areas of the nature, energy, and waste in the built environment, I would definitely say, like, out of the clean energy efforts are definitely a really, really big thing that local governments, some of the most progressive local governments are really taking on and trying to figure out how they can, improve their own operations. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like a very key area. The built environment, I'll just say, um, a lot of that is really garnered by state building code, and you can promote and you can push for, our program helped launch like, a green building, Western North Carolina green building programs many years ago. There's Healthy Built Homes, and there's, uh, you know, um, other green building programs that the city could help incentivize through its code enforcement, and maybe, through fee structures and so forth, to incentivize green building programs. So that is an option, as well as like LEED for their setting those standards for their own internal buildings. So those are
Mm-hmm.
opportunities there. And then on the nature conservancy side, there's lots of programs that you can be recognized as a tree city or a bee city, um, and start to do some easy things. And then the bigger planning zoning efforts,
Mm-hmm.
those are definitely more challenging and community based. But I think you can, I think there's some steps to get some kind of easy wins and move forward. And some of those things might even be cost saving strategies, or grant supported. So it's, as they get defined, then you can reach out, the city can reach out to other resources to help them get there.
Gotcha. Awesome. Terry, again, thank you so much for your time today. It's been super
Great.
insightful and helpful. A portion of what they asked us for was specific to say, what's possible in North Carolina. What are
Mhm.
other examples within our state that are kind of making progress towards this? I'll definitely look at the places you suggested, and we can also send you a copy of our final report once we're finished, so
Sure,
just
that
so
would
you
be
can see
great.
what we came up with.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Very
then
good.
if we have any follow-up questions, are we okay to just email those to you?
Yeah, that's fine. You're welcome to email me any questions. I will. I'll send you a link to this video. It might. One of our office managers needs to post it up to our channel, so that might take a day. But I can get you
Okay.
that by early next week. And also, please list our organization as a resource. We do a lot of work with. There's just so many organizations to help
Mm-hmm.
towns move forward on these issues, whether it's energy efficiency, whether it's even thinking about incentive, how do you incentivize green building? Like, there's just a lot of models out there on how to do
Right.
that. And we'd be happy to, link people up with resources, let you know what grants are out there for local governments on recycling. Like, maybe you want to have a special electronics collection day event or a permanent collection program as part of something that the town manages of a collection site. So, those are all options. I can put you in contact with people that can talk about that feasibility. So, any of that you need, I'm happy to kind of connect you with resources. If you want to like leave the
Awesome.
town, some like next step, here's people within state organizations that can help you.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much,
Sure.
Terry.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, hey, good luck with your project, and you're getting a great degree. My niece has an MPA from Duke, and she actually works with Office of
Huh.
Management and Budget up at DC, and it worked for local government. She was so you have a great degree, and will probably have a fantastic career. There's so much need out there in local governments and municipalities right now. There's such a big need. So good luck and wish you a lot of luck in your future.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Well, great talking to you today.
You too. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye bye now.
Bye.